Good evening and welcome to Hell of a Show. We're going to have a hell of a time on here. If you will let me know up front if you can see and hear me, I'd certainly appreciate that. And let's get those shares out there. We've already got a few people in here. Excellent. We have got Eve is in here, is the first one in. Thank you, Eve, for being here. And of course, I got to go ahead and get this taken care of. That is for my gal right there. Don't get excited. Anybody else that's in here, that is for my girlfriend. Do not get excited, okay? That means you, Larry. Don't get excited about that. I am working on getting it to where it is scheduled out more and you can see more of the schedule ahead of time. I'm trying to get like at least 2 weeks out so that people can start watching it. And yeah, I know. I love that. And thank you very much, Larry. I appreciate it. Yeah, y'all can hear me. Excellent. Courtney is here. Thank you very much for being here, Courtney. And wow, we got everybody. Wow. Okay. I hope my guest isn't shy tonight because we got quite a few people already in here. David is in here loud and clear. Now, is that clear or just, never mind. We'll go into that later. Trish, I appreciate you being here. Yeah, I know the background here looks sexy as all get out. I know. And Larry says, I'm excited, Phil. I'd be excited if I were on here. I mean, yeah, my guest. Yeah, we're excited about him being here too. And Stone, appreciate you being here. Lewis is here too. Wow. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and make this official then and get this bad boy started. I'm going to get into my sponsors on this. So for sponsorships on here, we do have a few of them. So let me go ahead and go through these. We'll start off with Tom Hutchison with Big Dog Inc. Just finished up with an amazing campaign on Legend of Oz. I had him on the show. He was about 78 backers away from his 600 backer mark. And I told him then he needed to start thinking about what to do with 600. He got 605 or 606 backers to finish it up. It was amazing. It was fun. I love being right every once in a while. My girlfriend, she knows that I'm right every once in a while. She just won't admit it. So we have Tom Hutchison. We have Wendy Steen Shaner, which she has Naughty Fairies. Right now, she doesn't have anything going with her brand, but she's working on another project called Nebula Pearl. We're going to get into that one shortly. Then we have Jim E. Noble, which is Totally Rad Comics. Right now, he doesn't have any campaigns going, but if you go to Totally Rad Comics, Big Cartel on online, totallyradcomics.com/Big Cartel, you will find the Valentine's Day covers that are on there. And I think he is up to 7 or 8 covers now, and they all look amazing. If you can't choose, just grab them all because they're going to be hard to find once they're gone. So there is that one. Now, I have a couple more on here. Let me go ahead and finish this up. We have got Luis Torres, which is in here right now, which has Nebula Pearl. Nebula Pearl is currently sitting at a little over $11,000. 179 backers. It's doing a great job on there. 26 days to go. All kinds happening. And if I got to throw a DemoNation challenge out there, well, I think we'll take care of that next week, and we're going to talk about that later too. And to finish this off, well, I have one other sponsor on here I want to go ahead and bring up, and we're actually about to bring him on here. That is CB Zane. CB Zane has got Into the Suck on the campaign right now, doing a little over 14,000 on here, 286 backers, and still 16 days to go. There's all kinds of fun that can come out of that. But hey, we've had enough fun talking to me on this one so far. Let's go ahead and bring out my guest and have some real fun. Let's get zany. Here's CB Zane.
What an intro. Thank you. We're going to have to quote that and use it.
What's going on, CB?
You know, just sucking is what we say. I tell, you know, when I post my updates, I tell everyone to keep sucking. So keep sucking, everybody. And what a great crowd we got here. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is a great, it's a large crowd and very active as well. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. It's going to go one way or the other, but we're going to have fun with it either way. And,
I know Luis Torres too.
You know a few of these people, yes.
Yeah.
Stone says a hell of an intro. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not even getting started yet. I haven't had any sugar rush or anything just yet. I mean, that's just bare knuckles. 1 cup of coffee. Yeah. And Larry yells out CB. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
CB. We're going to throw the hands up on that one. And
we'll do that.
Yeah, and of course Eve had to bring it up. I was going to say it was an unscripted term that you brought up on there, but Eve had to go ahead and go on there and say, keep sucking. Yeah, anyway.
Not oh no, Eve. It's oh yes.
Oh, yes. That guy looks familiar is what Courtney says. Well, we've got a lot of people that actually know who you are. Exactly.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of people on here who actually know who you are. So we really don't need to get too much into the whole, if they don't know who you are, where to find you and everything. We're going to go and dive directly into this thing. And I want to start off with The End of the Suck, because this is book 6. Yeah. You've got 5 other books out there, an amazing story that is built up on this thing, and you're culminating in book 6 on this to finish this particular arc, correct?
Correct. Yeah, what started 3 years ago is culminating in the first story arc. I keep calling it the first story arc because it was the one that we originally talked about and what Keith had put together, and it all comes to an end in book 6. It doesn't mean that that'll be the end of Into the Suck, but certainly this part of it, this journey, if you will. And yeah, I know we were talking off camera about whether or not it was going to continue, and that is my hope. For all sorts of different reasons, but this first book, it's really cool for me. This will actually be like the second complete series that I've ever done, and the first that is completely, I guess, what I would consider mine. The first one was a mini series I did for Tom Hutchinson in the Critterverse, which was The In Crowd, and that was the first mini series that I ever completed as an artist. And this one is the first that I've done that is, at least 50% my creation in terms of, contributing and working with Keith on this. And I'm really excited to bring this culmination. It's a great way to wrap up this story. So I'm just excited. It seems to be growing. This latest campaign is the most successful campaign I've had for Into the Suck at this point. It still hasn't hit what last campaign had. It's still about 2,000 away from hitting that mark. So my fingers are crossed, and I hope that the following just keeps growing, because I think it's a worthwhile story. It's just got a little bit of everything. It's got some humor, it's action, it's a little sexy at times. And it's got depth to it too. It's not just So, yeah.
It is. Speaking of who let this guy back onto the air, Joshua, you're not in jail right now? How is that possible? It's like a week. That's like a week you've been out of jail. I mean, how are you coping over there?
I'm just looking at some of the comments that, the title itself just lends itself to jokes. And one of the things I did, gosh, it may have been even after the second campaign. I asked the backers to come up with a name for themselves. Like, what do you call fans of the Suck? And I offered a free sketch that I would hand out to whoever's name I chose. And far and away, the most suggested name was Suckers. So it's always kind of interesting when I address fans of the Suck as suckers because of the connotation that it has. But anyone who is a fan is a sucker. So I know Demon Phil, maybe it should say Demon Phil : sucker.
the sucker Demon Phil. Wait a minute. No, we got to change it. We got to think about that more afterwards. Yeah, we'll think about it afterwards. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go on record as saying I am a proud sucker. No, wait. Hang on. Let me think of that over. I am a fan and a follower of this. Absolutely. It's not just that I have you on here as a guest. I mean, I do. I have all of this. I got the back issues on here to get caught up and everything. Digital is okay to a degree, but I got to have that paper in front of me and the smell and the look of it and everything. And it's like you said, it's got a lot of depth to it, because if you like comedy, it's in there. If you like spy espionage stuff, it's in there. If you like space, it's definitely in there. There's so much that's involved in this, and it keeps everybody just engaged in what's going on. And it does create to where, I hate to say it because I'm one of these, but I cannot wait for 6 to come out because you left me hanging on 5.
Yeah. And that's good to hear, because I mean, obviously when you put a book out, you want to have that group that, you know, you want people to want to come back. And I mean, obviously a cliffhanger does that to some extent, but you know, I want the characters to be compelling, and Keith did such a good job of creating these characters, you know, everything from Ursula to and actually I'll say this while I'm thinking of it. When we were first coming up with Ursula, we were trying to figure out what type of character she was going to be. And I think the very first sketch I sent him was the one where he was like, "Yeah, that's it, that's her." And I remember asking him about the name. I was like, "Are you sure? Like, do we want to go with Ursula?" He's like, "No, we are going with Ursula. It's perfect. It doesn't necessarily sound sexy, but it fits her personality." And I, even though I asked the question, I kind of thought the same thing, but I wanted to feel him out as far as that goes. And so Ursula stuck. And then obviously the last name Stormholder, you know, just kind of fit into the nuance of, you know, being a space story. But like you said, like it does have that, there's that espionage kind of element to it. I hate comparing it to Star Wars, but almost anything that takes place in space and has spaceships is going to be. And not that that's a bad thing, but it does have some elements of Star Wars in it. I mean, all of us grew up as fans of Star Wars. You're not influenced by it, I think, just isn't, you know, being truthful. So there's a little bit of that and a little bit of a lot of other sci-fi influences in it. And you know, when you were talking about each of those things being into the suck, the espionage part of it, the space part of it, there's daddy issues in there between Ursula and her father. This, you know, this conflict that's constantly happening with them, which, you know, Keith did such a great job fleshing that out. You have characters like Armando, who is just, you know, a bumbling dolt, but for some reason he is the secret to this whole thing, and of course Squee, who is every bit the comic relief to Ursula's kind of badass. One of the things I really enjoy about drawing that script for Into the Suck is, and this is one of the things I just love drawing in general, is the facial expressions. Like right away on the very first cover, which is, you know, right here, is Ursula's, you know, Billy Idol snarl. And I wanted her to have that. I wanted to convey her attitude as much as possible. And Keith did a great job writing it. And so every time I draw Ursula, it's always with an attitude, even with the picture that we have up for the campaign with her in the firing squad. It wasn't just like, oh, let me just draw her kind of sexily, you know, with this, you know, laser rifle over her shoulder. No, it had to be an attitude. It had to be, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to take a shot at me? You're like, good luck. And one of the fun things about that is when I had Gat Melvin color it, he added a little twist to it, because originally I was just going to have the logo behind her, like it was part of the wall. It was just going to be like a metal plate kind of thing. But he ended up putting the spray paint and the background of it, if you know, you take a look at the cover, and actually a spray paint can on the floor, like she just put that up and they caught her and she's just like, you know, a big F you.
Oh yeah.
So she's a lot of fun.
If I had to describe it as like a comparison of movies type thing, I would say probably Barbed Wire meets Spaceballs. That's what I would say is probably the synopsis for what you're looking for whenever you get into there. That way, if people don't know that much about comics, but they know more about movies, that would give them an idea of what they're getting into.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of a neat comparison, and I find that really interesting here. But
Uh-oh, you freezing up? Let me see. Looks like CB froze up a little bit there.
if I'm here or you're here, hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. You're still not on video for some reason. It's frozen. We are having technical issues. All right. He will be back in just a moment, so y'all get to look at my ugly mug for just a moment. But yes, Joshua Main says CB Zane the remix. Yes, exactly. But we will get him back on. That's not a problem. And yeah, we had some issues on there, but we will get him back on. Yeah, I know. He needs to buy more AOL minutes. I agree with that. Obviously, he's using Steph's card on this one. I don't know what happened. No, not wrong show, Eve. Wrong show. Different show. All right, he is back. Well, I say he's back. Russell Allen, that elite hacker. Yes, I agree on that one. And this interview was too hot to handle. That could possibly be true.
All right, am I back? I don't know. Is that me?
You're back now. Yes.
Okay. I don't know if is that my connection that's doing that. If it is, I apologize.
I think so, because I think mine's still going through.
Okay. Well, I apologize. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I know for some reason the cold weather seems to be playing havoc. But hi, Wendy. How you doing? And I saw David commented about Ursula looking like a blast to draw, and I wanted. She really is. And David is someone I'll definitely be hitting up for some art with the next series, because I think he lends himself very well to Ursula's attitude with his art. So it's going to be something exciting. But guys, I don't know, where were we?
We were talking about, how it was going with all that. Stone said shut down for nudity. I knew it. Look, I'm Stone. I just want to say, even though I'm pantsless, I am not on camera pantsless. So that should not be shutting me down. I'm sorry. We were talking about different nudity. I'm sorry. Okay, carry on. You were talking about something, Stevie. What was that?
Yeah, right. I just got to put my pants on. Hold on. I don't even know. We were talking about Into the Sock, I think, and Ursula and whatever. I don't know, but yeah, she's a blast to draw. I know we were talking about that, and I don't know. Train of thought was completely derailed there.
It happens. That's okay. Well, yeah. I had mentioned that I said it was like barbed wire meets Spaceballs.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And I think that's whenever the guys at Spaceballs decided, nope, you've said enough, and they went ahead and shut you down.
Right. That must be it. So, yeah, it's a matter of Colonel Sanders chicken. So, yeah, no, I think barbed wire is a good comparison, because she has that attitude that barbed wire has.
Yes.
And there is a little bit of Spaceballs in there in terms of, I think Squee personifies that.
Yes.
Very much so. And we were talking too, and I said, and I guess I can mention it now. I've already written the next series for Into the Suck, and trying to channel the inner Keith, if you will, and his like pacing with his writing was actually a lot of fun, and I think it came pretty naturally, and I hope I do it right with this next series. So it's exciting. I've been doing a lot more writing of late, which is something that I've always kind of had on the back burner. Into the Might is actually going to be the first book that I've released that I've written that is completely like 100% my writing, my art. So
yeah, and that's one thing that we're going to talk about definitely with Might. But the first thing I wanted to go ahead and bring up is kind of, since we've been talking about Into the Suck and everything, I want to go ahead and talk about something else that you've been working on that sucks. No, wait, that's different. That's something different. Luis Torres has got a thing called Nebula Pearl that you're doing a mind meld on.
Right.
Yeah. The most amazing segue ever, just saying.
Well played. Yeah, so let's see. Nebula Pearl is another space story. We'll keep with the segues going. Yeah, Lewis had sort of thrown the idea at me and asked if I'd be interested in being one of the writers. And I said, sure. It sounds like fun. When he pitched the whole idea, and Oh, did Ray move by her? She may have. Who knows? I mean, the force is strong within her. But and yes, Eve. I got to talk with Eve about Mike too. But anyway, yeah, Nebula Pearl was a really cool idea that Lewis had about bringing together 4 writers, really 5 if you count Kara and Alfred as 2 because they combined, but 4 parts, 4 different writers, and trying to come up with this cohesive story. And it's sort of like the old campfire game where you start a story and someone else keeps it going. And I had the task of bringing the whole thing home, which at first it was really intimidating. When I found out that I was selected to be number 4, I was like, oh man, no pressure there. I just have to not ruin it, right? But luckily, Alfred and Kara had a vision. And when they first threw the idea out, I thought, okay, how are we going to make this work? And I read their first part, and I was like, okay, this is laid out really well. The characters are there, the world is there, and Wendy continued it in a really wonderful way, developing the characters. And then Mike Shoemaker, who is my partner in crime for Outpost 426 Studios and with Scorpiana, he brought the action to it, and it was just a perfect timing. Like, Wendy's section led to that, and then Mike kind of charged everything, and then I had to figure out how to bring it all home in 6 pages. And I was like, okay, so how do I do this and still keep the characters going and this sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of story, because it sounds very violent to talk about cannibal prostitutes in space, but that's what it is, and it's fun. And then once I got to see the story, it was kind of nice because Lewis would send us each part, so I knew what was happening, bit by bit by bit. And like I said, I was really intimidated to do it at first, but luckily, once I saw all 3 parts come to me, I think I wrote the last 6 pages and ended the story in one night. Luckily, it was just one of those things that it worked. Even like trying to find a little twist and a way out and all that, it just worked. And that's usually, if I'm writing, if something works, I can write in one sitting because it just spills out. Other times I sit there and I throw things against the wall and nothing ever comes to me. So luckily I have some good sounding boards out there. Wendy's been a sounding board for me. Lewis has been a sounding board. Mike has been a sounding board for me. And that's one of the things I love about, being a creator in this whole thing, not just Nebula Pearl, but everything else, is bouncing ideas off of people and knowing you can trust them for honest feedback, and they have great ideas. So, and this was another one. And Lewis and I think I don't know, Lewis I think he's still in here, but Lewis and I think kind of came up with the name Mind Meld, because he was searching for an idea of, well, what do I call this? Like, if I want to do this again, where does it go? And I said, well, we're putting this together, and I think I threw the idea Mind Meld at him and said, you should have like a little logo, like, so that any comic that is done as a Mind Meld, it's kind of stamped there. And so he came up with the logo, and the best part about it too was his idea to go with this anime look, or manga look, and that just tied everything in perfectly. And when he started sharing the pages and the characters, it was like, man, that was just absolutely perfect on his part.
Now, we're definitely going to be talking more about Nebula Pearl, but I want to go ahead and let everybody know right now that 1 week from today, Nebula Pearl panel will be on my show. So 1 week from today, I will have Lewis, I will have Michael, I will have CB, I will have Wendy, I will have Kara, I will have Alfred, and who am I forgetting? That's all of it, right?
And Michael? Did you mention Michael?
There's Michael, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's all of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I got it all in one fell swoop. Look at that.
I know. And I've been doing smiling exercises to try to keep up with Wendy when I'm on the show, but I don't know. I'm probably going to be exhausted by the end, right?
We got to have that Joker thing going. I mean, to keep up with her, there's no way. She always smiles. It's great.
And the best part is, like, that is just Wendy. Wendy's just
Exactly.
She is a smile. She's a
So,
doll.
not to get too much into Nebula Pearl, because we're going to be giving that time to Nebula Pearl next week and everything. I just wanted to bring up that you were working on it and what your part was, because I know you were finishing it up, and that's a lot to go with on there. We're going to be talking a lot more about that next week going into the whole panel.
Right.
What I'd like to go ahead and talk about now, because if I don't, they're going to start messaging me and start blowing up my computer on the other side over here, and it'll probably make me freeze up. They mentioned something about a character called Minnie something, Mike, Meg, Meredith. What's her name again?
It's my girl Mite right here.
There you
go. Yeah, Mite is a character that's been in my sketchbook for years and years and years, and it was actually a character Mike Shoemaker and I had pitched together, like, about maybe doing a story about her. And I'm telling you, it's such a interesting story. I was introduced to Michael, I bet it was almost 20 years ago. It may even be longer than that. And we met and we started talking. We realized we're kind of like brothers from another mother. We had similar movie tastes, similar musical tastes, and it was like, oh my gosh. And we've never met in person, which is amazing, but we've talked and been friends for 20 years, which is a whole nother amazing part about all of this, getting to know you, Phil, and all the people that are there, and being friends with them and never having met in person is just, it's an awesome experience. But Mite was one of those characters that was kind of there, and we even talked about using her in a team book, and then a team book spun into other things, and we had a really cool team concept that was really close to going, and it may still happen someday. But one of the characters we had developed in that team book was this girl that had, a scorpion tattoo on her side. And so Scorpiana somehow became our launch point. We were like, yes, let's go with that character. And so in the story of Scorpiana in issue 1, there's this like accident that releases this mineral, if you will, this energy called quantium. And in a debriefing moment in this, group called Quest, not a tribe, but a group called Quest, we see in the background on the screen all these other enhanced humans that have been changed because of this. And Mite was one of them. And what's interesting is it was the first incarnation I had of Mite. And when I first drew her, and all the times I drew her before, she didn't have the pink space buns. She had the short, like, pigtails, and her hair was blonde with pink tip to it. And I knew, like, going forward, I didn't want that look because I felt like it was everywhere. Like Harley Quinn was, the quintessential blonde with the pigtails and the color. And I was like, I wanted to get away from that, even though I knew, like, that Harley Quinn look wasn't there when I developed Mite. And so the pink tips became pink hair, and I thought, I don't see a lot of characters with pink hair. It still fits her personality, because I wanted her to be very bubbly. Mm-hmm. And the space buns was something that came to fruition, and now it's kind of hashtag space buns everywhere. And so Mite makes another appearance helping out the Quest team in issue 2 of Scorpiana. And so when we started doing Comic Unity, at first, Into the Suck 6 was going to be part of that. And Wendy was going to continue with her Naughty Fairies, and Tom was going to do Critter, I think. And I think that was his initial thought. And then we are all like, well, I didn't want to end Into the Suck in some other book. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to do something new. And then, Wendy, took a character from her universe, and Tom took another, creation, another part of the Critterverse. And so that became our book. And Mite was my lead into it because I always wanted to tell her story. And now I don't want to stop. I have big plans for Mite this year. there's once the Comic Unity book comes out, I plan on kind of re-releasing issue 1 with some extra stories to it and some extra artwork. And then I am in the process of finishing Might number 2. And there's a little switch up with that I think is going to be a lot of fun. And I'm just excited. Might's a fun character, and I even toyed around with the idea initially of doing like Might to me is kind of a PG character. She's kind of a classic, like what you think of when you think of. I don't want to say Saturday morning cartoons. It's not that. There's still going to be some edge to her. But I want her to be very wholesome, not Ursula. Ursula's an attitude, and Ursula will scratch her ass in public, and she'll spit and cuss, and Might wouldn't do that, And that's one of the fun things of creating this. Like, I wanted a different character to tell a story about, different from Scorpiana. Even Scorpiana has an edge to her, but so Might is evolving, and I have a ton of ideas of where she's going and what's going to happen. And I even have, with some of this extra stuff, I have Wendy and Lewis involved with it, and I don't think I've ever, mentioned that before. I think Mike is going to do a little something for me. And for the first time ever, I'm going to say that no, actually, I'm going to leave that out for right now. I'm not even going to. I have someone that all of you love dearly that are going to be part of this. And I think Wendy might be the only person who knows who I'm talking about. But I'm going to leave that for now. But it's going to be a really, really exciting announcement when that's part of it. So it is going to be a jam-packed kind of re-release of issue number 1 on her own with lots of extra stuff. So that's what Might's going to be. And like I said, issue 2 is rolling. And I know where issue 3 is going to go, and there's going to be a lot of tie-ins. And then I guess I can talk about this too. It's in its infancy. It's barely 48 hours old, if that. But Might is making an appearance on a Niobe comic from Larry Higgins. And Larry had approached me about, he had an idea for doing an homage to a J. Scott Campbell cover. There it is. And the J. Scott Campbell cover is Niobe is Power Girl, Might is Supergirl. And so I took that, and this is what we did. And it was, for fun for his campaign. And we got a lot of really cool feedback about it. And so, in our discussions on Facebook, our comments underneath, I said, well, maybe, if people want to, we'll have to do a team up. And again, lots of positive responses. So I think that's going to happen. So I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I know I am definitely looking forward to that, because I love the end of the series. Cannot wait for my issue 2 to come out. I believe in the next few months it should be. And then, of course, Origins he's been talking about and building up off of. So seeing this is like, oh, wow, I'm going to see something from both of you working together on this that looks like it could be, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, it's just, I mean, we don't even know what the plot's going to be, where it's going to go. But I know we will make it happen. When it happens, I don't know. A lot of it depends on the timing with Might for me, because I want to get her established a little bit. So that's precedented on that's not precedent, but it's dependent upon Comic Unity getting out, and then the first issue, and then who knows, maybe even the second issue. So
very cool. And Larry's saying we will do this just like an issue of Marvel Team Up. That's very cool.
Yep. So it's going to be a blast. And like I was saying earlier, it's it's just one of my favorite things about this whole thing is being able to work with other creators. That was always, as a comic collector, as a kid, I'd love to see other artists take on characters and what they brought to it. Because I was first and foremost an art fan. I wouldn't collect a book if I didn't love the art. And So it was always interesting to see that, and I love that too. Like if I have another artist draw Ursula or another artist do Might, it's so cool to see them put their little twist in it and do their style. And you know, like I said, I'm gonna have to recruit David for an Ursula cover down the road. I definitely want that, and you know, Wendy's done an Ursula cover for me, so super cool. Yes, there you go.
Yes, very much so. Waiting on that one. Yes.
And it's really I got to see it finally all put together, because it's funny, as much as you know we were promoting Comic Unity, I didn't really get to see any of the other stories until like we were all set to put it together. I got to see Wendy's first because her and I were talking quite a bit about you know what to do and certain things to you know add and change up. And Tom's was the last one to come through. But to see them all together, and Wendy did such a great job of organizing it. She's been kind of our editor slash publisher with all this. We've thrown it at her and she's like, yeah, I got this. And the way she put it together, and to see it all, you know, the 3 stories sequentially placed in there, even with the ads we have, it looks really, really sharp. It's just such a cool, I guess, contrast in styles. You know, even though Tom's Critter is a superhero, you know, Catnip is sort of, I don't know, it's like a Dark Knight-ish
Right.
sort of story. Whereas, you know, I wrote Might. I wanted to be more of a traditional superhero story, and there's a little bit of there's definitely a personal note in there for me in writing Might. And then Wendy does Wendy's thing, and she has the Naughty Fairy in there, and she has Sirenus, and she created such a cool looking story that has a soul. So it's 3 very different looking stories, 3 very different stories in terms of how they read. I think people are going to be really happy with it, and the people that didn't, I think they're going to be really jealous that they didn't pick it up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned about the artwork and stuff like that. I want to kind of talk about that a little bit, because you're getting to where your art is on quite a few covers for different people that are kind of outside of the regular circles that you would normally do as well. Because I've looked at a few Kickstarters and gone, wait a minute, that's CB. Hang on a second, that's his stuff right there, which is cool because you're starting to get your name out there and get on more covers. Are you trying to get to where you're doing more of the covers? Are you still doing your interiors yourself, or how are you doing that?
You know what? Interiors always eat up a lot of time, and I want to make sure that I can get my books out, but I'm always happy to do a cover for something new, something that, I don't know, it's just fun dabbling in someone else's universe, you know, in drawing their characters. Like I said, as much as I'm a fan of seeing how people draw my characters, I like being able to draw other people's characters. Like even Niobe, that's actually the first drawing I've done of Niobe, because the other cover I had done for Larry wasn't a Niobe cover per se. It was a different character. Right. So she was so much fun to draw because you can just go all crazy with those pigtails that she has, and she has a really cool design element to it. So yeah, I mean, being able to be part of, you know, other Kickstarters is definitely cool. I love it, and if anybody, you know, wants me to do that, you know, send them my way, and if I can fit it in, I do. I do try to kind of pride myself on getting stuff done on time and getting it to people in their hands. That was one of the early lessons I learned in this whole business, is that, you know, if you can't do something, say it. Say you can't. Don't fudge, because all of a sudden you get a bad name. So whether it's paying an artist or a writer or a colorist or a letterer, I always make sure that I take care of them, because I don't want like a bad reputation. And then when it comes to doing my art, I always want to make sure that I get it done on time and it is my best product, because ultimately I'm putting my name on it. So yeah, I hope that continues. So
Exactly. And Joshua was asking when we get David Harrigan mixed into this, but I love this right here. Watch this. Here's Jack's response. The better question is, how big can we get this group? And there it is right there. I love that response. I'm telling you right now, because that's the truth. I mean, it's the circles that were kind of smaller before are growing a little bit larger. But
Yeah.
the whole time, you, Wendy, Tom, everybody that I deal with, Larry, everybody remembers why they got into this, why they started doing it, who these are for. And you don't get so big and bad that all of a sudden those circles are over on this side over here that none of us pay attention to because you've lost the respect of the crowd that was following them in the first place. You always keep that respect. So I can tell you right now, I greatly appreciate the fact that you, as my guest, do that because I am a follower of yours and you make it very well known. You are appreciative of everyone that follows you on everything and you keep doing that for us. And that's what everybody has to remember is you have to have that passion in your work, especially in the indies, because you don't have the big two stability. Well, that's a funny word to use with that right now. But anyway, the big two marker, should we say, to go along with that. So it's a big deal to have that respect that you actually keep with it, and you do, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. To me, like I said, it's a big deal. I am a self-proclaimed awful promoter. I wish I was better at social media. I wish I was better at, like putting my stuff out there in a way that I could hit every single corner of the world with it. Sadly, I guess I kind of rely on, word of mouth and hopefully really just the quality of the product is what I hope speaks for itself. I keep trying to tell myself, like, you got to put yourself out there more. But I don't know. It's one of those things, like, I never want to walk that line where people see it as arrogance, because I don't want to be that. Mm-hmm. I want to do my thing. I love drawing. I love creating. And, that's one of the reasons why, like, I have Into the Suck, I have Might, I have Scorpiana. I'm doing, the crossover with Tom. I'm doing a crossover with Larry at some point when that comes to fruition. I can, Wendy and I talk a lot about our projects, and I still look and I have ideas spilling, and I want to tell all these stories, and there's just not enough time to do it. So, but that's what I want to do, and it never, ever, ever feels like work.
Now, speaking of time and speaking of art and everything, you do have your show that you do on Mondays, where you do your live draw and all, and it's a lot of fun because you have, of course, you have to deal with the comment section, and you have to remember that you're actually drawing and not pay attention so much because otherwise you'd just be talking the whole time. But it's a lot of fun to do that, and you come up with some amazing work on there. Are you thinking about possibly doing an art book with the things that you're doing on there?
It's a good question. I can't say that I haven't thought of it. I don't know. I see everybody else's art book, and I see everybody sharing out like the sketches that they do all the time. And I feel like I'd never think to save like my sketches, even though I sketch everything, not necessarily on pen and paper. Like for the Monday night shows, of course, that's sort of old school. But I never think to like save the stages of the drawings. And I feel like that's always, to me, when I look at an art book, I like to see that. I like to see the evolution of the art. And I can do that with some of my digital stuff because obviously I work in layers. And so it always starts with, the pencils, so to speak, and then the next layer, and then, fine tuning everything. So I probably could, pull from some of that. Again, I don't know. I think someday I will. When that day will happen, I don't know. And I don't know exactly what it would look like. If it would just be like cover arts collected or stuff from like my sketchbook. But I don't know. We'll see. I would like to, I think someday, when I feel like, there's enough that people want to see it. If everyone's like, hey, when are you doing an art book? When are you doing a sketchbook?
There it is right there.
Thanks, Wendy. So I don't know. I guess the simple answer after all this is that yes, someday I would like to. but I'm not sure when that'll be yet.
Well, when that happens, I know you're going to have several people that'll be backing and following you on that with no issue whatsoever. And you've got, like I said, you've got your show that you do. You have a lot of fun on there. You still
Yeah.
stay busy with everything else in life and are still going through everything. And then still got your campaign that you're working on, which I want to bring up. You're 14 backers away from the 300 mark. And none of us know. I don't even know because he won't tell me. There's something special at 300 backers.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
want to know what that is. So I need 14 backers to jump on there. I need people to share this bad boy out and get the information out there so that we can find out what's going on with this.
I've actually teased it. I teased it to the backers in the campaign, and I teased it on my Facebook page. It was just it's a grayscale black and white picture that I teased that is what will happen at 300, and 300 is a big mark because I haven't hit that yet with Into the Suck. I think we ended up, I want to say like maybe 6 backers short, or 4 backers even short on the last campaign of 300. So yeah, CB shirt, right. Yeah, t-shirts is something too I'd like to do someday, I think. I don't know, my wife keeps pushing for that. I know. I don't know. Like I said, I have all these plans, and I just got to find time to do it because I like drawing so much, so that occupies all my time. But so yeah, 300 backers is going to be, I think people are going to be really, really excited about it. I'm just going to leave it like that. Yeah, it'll be a fan favorite type thing. I'll say that. That'll be a juicy tidbit.
And I will also go ahead and bring up, because most everybody is in here that I need to be in here for this, except for Kara and Alfred. But there's a lot of cross-promotion stuff that is going on in these circles as well, including Nebula Pearl has that 4, because I think the last one, Nebula Pearl was the last one in that series that does the 4 connecting set, correct?
Correct, yeah. And that was, we talk a lot, and that was one of those things that we said, hey, let's do cross promotion. As all of these were popping up, and it was like, oh, well, when are you launching, and when are you launching? And we've gotten to be such a close knit group, and so that was just a natural thing because as much as we all want to do well, and as much as I guess there's a competition to be perceived, we all want the best for each other when it's all said and done. And if cross promotion does that, then we all benefit from it. And maybe someone comes over from Wendy's Naughty Fairies to check out Into the Suck, and someone from Into the Suck goes to check out Nebula Pearl. And to me, that's just a win-win situation. And when we did come up with that, I think Lewis right away was like, I got this. And it was almost like before we could blink an eye, he had the sketches laid out and what he wanted to do. And it was just like, it just fit together so nicely. And it's a really cool looking image. Just the way it all came together. It's a nice take on all our characters. And so, yeah, that's definitely something to look forward for people.
And you've also got a collaboration with someone else as well, correct?
The one with Tom, are you talking about, or?
It is the one with, let me see, you've got Wendy Steen Shaner on here. You've got not the 4 connecting, but right. You have another one, which is the Steph Wilson print that you get. Oh,
right, yeah, with Wendy, correct. Yes. Yeah, that features Ginger Snap, and Ursula. One of my favorite things about that is it shows the Ursula piece was an older piece I had from Steph, and so it's kind of his old style. And then Ginger Snap is done in kind of this where he's evolved to, and it's neat to see that difference. I'm a huge fan of Steph's work, and I remember the first time I saw his art, and I was just scrambling to try to find more. And I was like, "Where's this person been?" I didn't even realize that he was that new to the scene. But right away, I contacted him about doing a cover for Into the Suck, and he's done 2 since, and including that one for Wendy, which was also a sticker you could get in one of the earlier campaigns. So, yeah, I'll actually, any one of those people, as far as crossovers go, I'll do a crossover anytime, anywhere. They're just good people.
Absolutely. And Larry is saying he's 100% right. That's why crossovers are a great thing to build an audience together. Niobe fans will love Might, and I hope the other way around.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you have not read Niobe, get on it. Get with Larry, get with Rebel Comics, get with anybody who has a copy that they can sell out there, and find out what's going on, because part 2 is now about to be available on there. You don't want to miss out on that. Origins, and now we have this crossover. Yeah, Niobe's great.
Oh yeah, it's an awesome book, and I know I was reading that one too. But yeah, Niobe, definitely, it'll be fun. And that's another thing too, is promoting other people's works. Like
yes.
Right now, I'm obviously promoting Into the Suck, but I get to promote Nebula Pearl. And when it comes time, I'll be promoting Niobe best that I can. With my audience, my little audience that I have, and share it out as much as possible. And that's one thing I don't think that I would like to be able to branch out more into, other corners of the internet, because I feel like I've only tapped a little bit of it, and maybe a lot of the other creators feel that too. And just trying to find what that next niche is going to be. And we were talking before we came on the air, and I was saying one of the things I'm proudest about with Into the Suck is the fact that it continues to find its footing slowly but surely. It wasn't like an instant success, but it did well. And each campaign has gotten a little bit better. And I think it is one of those like slow burn books. And I've always thought that maybe it was the title that throws people off, because you see Into the Suck and it's not obvious that it's a space story. It doesn't sound like a superhero story. I've gotten questions about whether it's like a Marine story, or if I was a Marine, because they use the expression of going into the suck. But for Keith and I, it was just one of those things like, well, okay, so it's stories about Ursula. What do we call it? It takes place, in a part of the space called the Suck, which is just this crap hole that has all this strewn garbage everywhere, and all these old spaceships that are destroyed from the old war have become like low-income housing. And it was just like, it's Into the Suck. That's what we have to call it. And we kind of laughed, and it just worked. And I will tell you this, and this was something Keith and I almost said at the exact same moment. We were talking about, well, if we do the next series, we have to call it Further Into the Suck. It's not Into the Suck 2. It's going to be Further Into the Suck. And any consequent series after that will be Even Further Into the Suck, or More Furtherer Into the Suck. Like whatever works, deep into the suck. It'll always have that. The next story arc miniseries will have that type of title to it. So
careful, you can't call it Deep Into the Suck, because then people are going to think that it's a Totally Rad Comics production. They're just going to go right into that.
That's a whole different world. Yeah, that I'll have to save for the Totally Rad crossover.
That is very true. Yes, very true. Yeah, we're going to have to make that work somehow, some way with that, because that's just right there teetering where it's like you got to push it over. It's got to go.
Yeah. And Larry's right on. I'm looking at this last comment. This is what I do. I like your stuff. I share it.
Yep.
I agree with that completely. Yep. If I like it, I'll share it 100%.
Exactly. Now, CB, we've talked about, with Into the Suck, we've talked about Nebula Pearl, we've talked about Mike, we've talked about all these things, including the Comic Unity online con that you did with Tom and Wendy. Yep. So my question is, and this is kind of a biggie, once you've hit these pinnacles, what's next? What's your next big Mount Everest to try to tackle there?
Wow, that's a good question. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Like, I just feel like I have all these stories I want to tell, and I have all these characters. There's a character that I actually have written the first issue of it, and I think I've written the first issue of this character 4 or 5 times. And there's even a superhero group. I'll tell you a little bit about it. And might sort of evolve from this too. One of the superheroes like groups that I've actually drawn the first issue twice now. And it's funny because I have what I call my zany style, which is kind of a cartoony style that I dabble in, and I do a lot of that in my sketchbook. It's kind of a Disney influence, maybe a J. Scott Campbell kind of influence to it, but it's just something like when I was exploring new characters, it just felt fun and natural, and I could do Ursula's snarl and over exaggerate it in this style. And I finally kind of broke it out on my show on Monday nights, and I've done one of the Nebula Pearl cover is actually like zany style, and so I did this superhero book in that style years ago, and then I redrew it again because I went back and I hated it, and I thought I could do better now. And basically the premise of it is it's Baywatch if they were superheroes is really what it was. And it came to me kind of on a whim as a joke, because people always say, well, why do superheroes always wear their bathing suits? And I thought, well, if they're lifeguards and they're superheroes, they're going to wear the bathing suits. So I have this book that is really fleshed out well. But that sort of became my influence when I started writing Might, because this was another story that I wanted to tell that even though it sounds like it should be, maybe totally rad in terms of, good looking girls in bathing suits on a beach with superpowers, I wanted it to have a heart behind it. And I would say that influence comes from TV shows. Like, I'm a huge fan of the show Scrubs. And I love Scrubs because you can laugh, but there was episodes that made you cry. And there was always some heart and soul to it. I would even argue like a show like Schitt's Creek, which I fell in love with that show. At first, it's just you laugh at their predicament, but as the series goes on, it grows a heart, and the characters grow a heart, and there's the message behind it. And I always like that. And even going back, I'm dating myself here, but going back, Happy Days was probably the first one where no matter what happened, no matter how cool the Fonz was, even jumping the shark, there was a moral to it. And I've always gravitated toward that story, and I wanted Might to have that element. I think, when you read her first story, that was really important to me, that it has a heart and a soul besides having a fun character. And so this other story was sort of the launching point for me, because I used Scrubs as my model to develop those characters and that storytelling, and then I pulled it into Might. But so I don't know, someday maybe I'll do that. The other character I have is sort of, I guess, it's far from this, but the best way to describe it is my universe's version of the Hulk, which is, if I could draw any Marvel book, believe it or not, it would probably be the Hulk. I would love to do a Hulk story someday. but yeah, my Everest, what do I claim? Where do I go from here? I guess the simple answer is I just tell more stories. I want to. That's what I want to do, and create books.
And it sounds like you've got quite a bit to go off of right now, and then you've got more that you want to introduce as well. So you're going to be staying fairly busy with all this as well.
Yeah, and again, those two that I just mentioned are like kind of back burners right now, even though they are written, and the one is actually drawn out. Whether I decide to use it or not, I don't know. But there is another story that I want to get out this year, which again is a whole different story. It's not Into the Suck. It's far from being Might. It's actually going to be kind of I don't know how dark it'll be, but it'll be more of an erotic kind of story. And it's a character that I'm calling Black Rabbit, which I've teased a little bit. And if you get Comic Unity, you'll get your first peek at Black Rabbit in there in the little promotion for Outpost 426. So, but that's something that is kind of being written now. I have a ghostwriter that I'm working with on it, and I hope to get Black Rabbit out by the end of the year. But again, this is going to be a completely different look, a completely different feel. I'm trying to do some things visually that are very, very different too. So
Very
I'm
cool.
excited. Yeah.
And Jack was asking a question. He said, which Hulk would you want to do a Hulk story for?
Which Hulk? Like, are you talking like She-Hulk, Red Hulk, Green Hulk? I guess I would say the traditional Hulk, the Bruce Banner turns into, you know, whatever. For some reason, I've always liked the Hulk, although I never collected it a ton. But that character just, I think in every single sketchbook I have the Hulk drawn in there. It's one of those characters that just kind of flows for me, and I can use that character to warm up for anything. So, but I would love to do a Hulk story. It would be really cool.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, CB, I could keep you on here all night long talking to you and everything, but I got to leave a little bit left for next week as well. But
Sure.
I want to go ahead and finish off by saying thank you for being on here, and make sure that everybody is getting on to In the Suck. Everybody needs to be a sucker. I'm going to go ahead and say that out loud right now. Everybody needs to be a sucker. And everybody needs to go over there and get on Nebula Pearl as well. You don't need to miss out on either one of those. Plus, if you're able to get on there and you're on the other things as well, you get the connecting cover, so on and so forth. There are ways of doing that still because of backer kit and everything, as I understand it as well. So if you're interested in getting the connecting cover set and you missed out on the campaigns, just reach out to the creators and they'll let you know. Or you can reach out to me and I can let you know as well because I have that information too.
Yeah.
But the main thing is support. So if you don't have the financial means for whatever reason on there, and I'm not going to, pull anybody out on that or anything because, same thing, I can't financially everything. Costs nothing to use the finger. Make sure you use the correct one. Use the power of that finger and go ahead and support. Share. Get this thing out there. There are 16 days left in Into the Suck. There are 26 days, I believe, left in Nebula Pearl.
Sounds about right.
Time. Yeah, there's plenty of time. So get on there, get these things shared out. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now because I love doing this. I did this with Tom on his. I'm going to do it with you on yours. So we're at 286 backers right now. You want to get to that 300 mark? We're going to get there. That's not an issue. I want to get you, this is a DemoNation challenge. I want to get you at between 350 and 375 by time it ends.
Okay.
So looking at 350, 375 is what we want to shoot for on there. And I want him as close to possible as getting all these things, because if y'all look on the campaign at the stretch goals that are available on here, I want stuff. Y'all want stuff. Get on here and get stuff. I mean, it's just that simple. I can't simplify anymore.
Yeah.
So get on there, get involved, share this thing out. Let's get the word out there. Let's make this world suck a little more and get some backers on there. I need to trademark that, don't I?
Right. That sounds about right, man.
Well, CB, I certainly appreciate it, and looking forward to having you back next week as well. And we're going to get you back on Unscripted as well. That was a lot of fun when we had you on there, and we'll have you back on another one here coming up pretty soon as well.
I have to drink heavily next time I'm on that show, I think. Honestly, Phil, I appreciate it so much. You do a great job with your show. It's awesome. It really is. So anytime you need someone to hop in, let me know, and I'll definitely do another show down the road.
I certainly appreciate it. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to put you backstage for right now, do my closing statements. If you want to hang out, I'll be with you here shortly.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
All right. So our show absolutely sucked. And I can say that with complete and total just pride and respect in what I'm saying there, because everybody needs to get on Into the Suck. 5 issues have already gone through. The 6th issue is up there right now. You can get the catch-up tier on there. It's amazing. Don't miss out on that. And on top of that, he was a part of the Mind Meld with Nebula Pearl. You don't want to miss out on that either. Now, I always have a closing statement. Tonight's not going to be any different. I try to use it, with whatever's going on with the interview at the time. And tonight I'm going to do that as well. And tonight it's all about unity. Now, CB was part of the Comic Unity online Comic-Con, Wendy, Tom, CB, and they created this great thing on there, and it was called Comic Unity. Now, the reason I bring that up is because what is unity? Unity is whenever you go ahead and work together for a larger goal. Now, everyone wants to go ahead and get their money out there that they need to get, or they need to get their title that they want to get, or they want to get their respect that they want to get. And that's fine and all. But rather than stepping over people as you go along, if you go ahead and reach down and help some people along the way, and everybody kind of work together a little bit more, wouldn't the indie community have a lot more unity involved in it? Instead of being comic unity, it would be a community. You see where it went with that? And it's the same thing with life. All you got to do is just go ahead and start thinking about some other people every once in a while. Do something nice. It doesn't have to be amazing. It doesn't have to be spectacular. You don't have to go give one of those huge fake checks to somebody just so you make them feel better about something. Just reach out to somebody. Tell them they've got some good work. You know, reach out to Lewis and tell him, hey, Nebula Pearl looks badass, man. Great job. Things like that right there. Yes, the money helps keep it going around, but that respect and that pride make it go even further. So go ahead and use that unity, and let's see where we can go with this. So that's my closing statement. So until next time, and I will have, let me see, today is Thursday. On Tuesday of next week is the next time I'll be on, and I will be on with Jay Photos. We will be talking about his current campaign and seeing what all's going on with that one. I had him on last time for his other campaign, and it was an amazing show. I don't think we're going to have a bad one this time either. So be looking forward to that. Share that out. Let people know. And until next time, keep in mind, throw one pebble in a pond, get a ripple. Get enough pebbles thrown out in that pond, get the waves of change. Keep it indie, y'all.